And I know a lot of y'all sitting here thinking like, girl, you really about to drag Dr. Seuss today? Yes, anybody can get it. If you do some mess, you gonna get checked for that, okay? Okay. Never compare a black person to an ape. Don't do it. Like, people try to say, y'all like to bring up people's past and dig up old stuff and yada yada yada. No, this stuff was made out to be pretty public, okay? So knowing that he made an entire story, if not his most popular story, when you look at book sales, it's about making fun of a black person, really don't sit good with me. We're going to continue to talk about famous figures that contributed a lot to history and art. We can't ignore certain things about them, okay? We have to also talk about them. If we're gonna talk about all the good that Dr. Seuss did, we gotta talk about the messed up things that he did too. You can't keep lying about these things, okay? And I'm not saying that you guys are lying, but acting like it didn't happen and not bringing it up is just as bad as lying, okay? Because you're ignoring it. Y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Hello, my name is Harriyanna. I am the captain. You are not my first mate. How many times I gotta go over this? I don't got no first mate, but I got a second mate, I got a third one, I got a fourth one. The list goes on. But no one is worthy of being first. Hello, my name is Harriyanna. If you're new here, I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Okay, now before we get started, we're gonna do this real quick. One, I have a merch line coming up soon. It ain't out yet. This lip gloss is a part of it. I ain't telling you which one it is. You can get it. Two, I have a Patreon. Please support me on Patreon. You can see what I got to offer over there. You can get on the Discord, whatever. Three, I have a web series. Please go support that. All of the links to all this stuff will be down below, okay? Because what we're getting into today is about to be a mess, okay? I had to get through the intro real quick because today's video is going to be... Ooh, that's just the only way to describe it because I am just... Oh, but before I even get started, thank you guys so much for all your kind words that you have been giving to me. Me and my family truly do appreciate it. We're just taking it one day at a time. Trying not to look at it as a negative, trying to be more positive and more optimistic about things in life. But this event that did happen really did kind of change how I view myself and how I view the world and how I just kind of view life in general. So I'm doing great. Still taking my time. It's still kind of tough, but I'm going to be all right. Thank you guys so much for everything. But we gotta debunk Dr. Seuss today, okay? We do. I was not going to make this video at all. I didn't know about it until this morning when I woke up and I grabbed my phone. This is why I don't sleep with my phone, by the way, because the first thing that catches my attention, it sticks with me the whole day. I grab my phone and I just get on Instagram and I see people talking about how Dr. Seuss is, racist. And actually one of my good mutuals, Jane, she was the one who posted it. She's so great. I love her so much. You guys should go subscribe to her channel, okay? I'll put it across the screen. Go subscribe to her. But I was literally in the middle of making my Andy Mag video, like not filming it but like outlining it and everything, and I literally put that off for today so I can just sit here and debunk Dr. Seuss because what? And I know a lot of y'all sitting here thinking like, girl, you really about to drag Dr. Seuss today? Yes, anybody can get it. If you do some mess, you gonna get checked for that, okay? Okay. That's how it works, okay? Let's go ahead and get started, okay? Now, big shout out to the Conscious Kid on Instagram. They are actually the person that brought a lot of this attention to the surface. If I didn't see this post, I would not know about it at all. I will have the link to their post down below. And also all the articles that I refer to in this video will also be linked down below for you guys to elaborate on yourself and see it for yourself. Because a lot of people try to say that I lie about certain things and I don't. Usually everything I say you can find it on the internet. But specifically with this video, because Dr. Seuss is like known as kind of like, people always see him as like a man that can do no wrong, if that makes sense. They do that a lot of times with these old white men from the past whose art still impacts us today. People view them as if they couldn't do anything wrong. So I'm gonna have that proof down there below for you to check out. Okay. So when I found out all this information this morning about Dr. Seuss, I was disappointed, but I was not surprised, because I've always been kind of iffy about Dr. Seuss after I found out all the stuff that went down with him and his first wife, where he cheated on her. Yes, that's true, y'all. Go look it up. Go look it up. So like I said, I was not surprised, but I was very, very disturbed in a sense. Like I said, disappointed, but not surprised. I don't want to trigger anyone, so all of the images that I refer to in this video, I will not be having them in this video because they were triggering for me as an African American girl. I find these images to be very, very scary, but if you do want to take a look at them for yourself, I will have them linked down below. Just be mindful, just to be cautious of them when you do click on them, okay? Because they're very, very creepy. And also, please look at the description box. There's a lot of information in there that you guys asked me about, and the answer to it is in that box. Like, y'all, please. We, as content creators, appreciate when you guys actually listen to us. Like, people don't listen. Like, the answer is down below, y'all. If you need it, look down there. So, before we get started, thank you to Philip Neal of Kansas State University. He is very responsible for a good chunk of this information that is shared in this video, specifically when we get to the Cat in the Hat. But we're going to save the Cat in the Hat for last, because before we get into the Cat in the Hat, we just need to get a rundown about everything that led up to that story, including Dr. Seuss and who he was. Now, if you guys don't know who Dr. Seuss is, I'm pretty sure y'all know who Dr. Seuss is. Dr. Seuss is born Theodore Geisel. He is an American illustrator, cartoonist, and children's author, best known for his work such as The Lorax, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Hop on Pop, and All the Places You Can Go. Like, I read so many of these books growing up when I was a kid. I own a lot of them, and I still own a lot of them too. They're just childhood memories of mine. My favorite from him was I Can Read With My Eyes Shut. Okay, that was my book. I don't care. I Can Read With My Eyes Shut. Amazing. Okay, it's one of his lesser known stories, but it's pretty funny for a sense. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone, at least American people, have read his books. And if you haven't read his books, you've probably seen some of his very questionable movie adaptations. Modern movie adaptations, to be specific, because he has made adaptations of his books in the past where it was just kind of like a page-to-page adaptation put on television. They're pretty good. I've seen a lot of them before. They're all kind of sad. They make me kind of sad in a sense, if that makes sense. I just said since like 3 times. What is up with me? But yeah, the modern adaptations are strange. I don't care what none of y'all say. My favorite live action movie, my favorite bad movie of all time is the live action Cat in the Hat. I'm sorry. I love that movie. But also, that movie's really problematic after you guys find out the information we're gonna be disclosing in this video, okay? You know this person. I'm pretty sure y'all all know who he is. And for a hot minute, there have been talks about how his works have racist undertones to them and everything, but everybody just kind of like swept it over the rug, talking about we're doing too much and we're just reaching at this point. But no, it's not just racist undertones. It's legit racism, okay? It is legit racism. It's not one of those things that can be interpreted to be racist. It's actually an issue, okay? The main reason a lot of it got swept under the rug in the first place is because it was brought up in his lesser known books. One being And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street. There is a Chinese character that is drawn with only 2 lines for eyes, and that is an issue because people often make fun of Asian people for having smaller eyes. That is very rude, and that has been like a big issue with how people draw Asian characters in general. And not only was the character drawn like that, they were also wearing Japanese shoes, which is a big problem because if you don't seem to understand that Asia is made up of different countries. It's one continent, different countries, and each country has a different culture. Not all Asian people share the same culture, but so many people think they do because it's like one big continent. It's similar to how people think all African culture is the same when no, it's different countries. Yeah, it's just kind of how they all put them in this one category when they don't really think anything of it, but it actually is very, very offensive. Like I mentioned before, where Chloe in Miraculous Ladybug was making fun of Marinette, and she kept saying things about Japanese, when Marinette is well known as Chinese. Marinette made it clear she was Chinese, but you know, Chloe is just assuming her ethnic background by the way she looks. She's over here saying she's Japanese when Marinette is Chinese. So you guys get why that's offensive. Okay, here we go. Next, we're going to get into the other story that is lesser known called If I Ran a Zoo. And when they get to Africa in that book, you guessed it, guess what the people look like? Monkeys. They are drawn to look like monkeys and apes, and if you don't know why that is offensive, black people are often compared to monkeys and apes because of their features, okay? That is why it's offensive. People don't seem to understand why that's rude. It's rude. Never compare a black person to an ape. Don't do it. Wait, it gets worse, okay? Moving on. Dr. Seuss has also made political cartoons and comics, and one thing that people don't really know too much about him, that before he really got his groove into like being a children's author, and that's where he made a lot of his big bank from, he made a lot of political cartoons that were published up in newspapers. Now, like one thing, like I said, people don't really know too much about him writing the political cartoons. People also don't really know about him cheating on his wife either, but I know I brought that up already, but it was just really, really disturbing. It's a really, really tragic story that so many people don't know about. I found out about this when I was in high school, but that's another topic for another discussion. We're not here to talk about his infidelity. We're here to talk about his racism. Anyway, back to the political cartoons. Many of the things in them were very, very questionable, okay? They were very racist, and this just goes beyond the ones that were posted on Instagram. I did end up finding other political cartoons that were made by him, and they were extremely offensive. Like, I'm just going to give you guys a quick little rundown about what was in those pictures. Some of these images did have text on them, and the text on them had the N-word with the hard R in them. And they also referred to black people as very derogatory, and they often were just looking down upon them. And the same thing about how black people were drawn as if they were animals. They were drawn like monkeys. And they were often assistants to the white people who came and invaded to the land that they lived on. So it's really, really creepy. It's kind of giving like Sambo Mammy type vibes right here, where they're actually just kind of being servants to them, being like their right pal and things like that. It's just a really, really unsettling. And there's also one in particular, the one I think is the most hurtful to me, is where it looks as if it's similar to a slave auction going on, where a white man is just standing there and looking at all the black people, and he's trying to figure out which one he wants to pick to be his servant. Very, very disturbing. And not only is like a lot of his political cartoons and past work very racist, I have to throw this in here, it's also very anti-Semitic too. And we don't do that here on The Pirate Ship, okay? If you are anti-Semitic, you can go. You can go. We don't do that over here. We don't hate people over here, okay? Okay. And these aren't just like his private cartoons either. Like, people try to say, y'all like to bring up people's past and dig up old stuff and yada yada yada. No, this stuff was made out to be pretty public, okay? This stuff was published in newspapers. Everybody saw it. And nowadays, I know people that don't really know too much about newspapers that be watching me, because when I found out kids, little kids watch me, I was like, huh? It was a big deal back then to get your stuff published in a newspaper, okay? It was like it being shared on an Instagram page that has 1 million followers. It was a big deal to have your stuff in a newspaper, and everybody saw it because everyone saw the newspapers, okay? It was like the internet back then. But one thing I do particularly find interesting, though, is that these racist and anti-Semitic drawings, he did like the whole 180 on them. Like, they weren't racist and they were supporting Jewish people. I find that very, very interesting, and we will come back to that later on in the video, but that I had to keep that in mind. Like I said, I'm not leaving out information because it would not be right to just say he did this but didn't also do that. Yes, he did make racist drawings in the beginning, but then later on he changed the way he viewed black people in his work. Moving on. The third point, which I think is the most disappointing of them all, is that The Cat in the Hat is a story of a black person that breaks into a white person's home and messes it up. Y'all don't believe me? Y'all really don't believe me? Tell me the truth. Go ahead and say it right now. Do you believe Harry at the moment? I understand if you don't believe me right now, because I didn't believe it either until I actually sat here and looked at all the information, and I was blown away. Like, I was... Whew. Okay, here we go. Here we go. The Cat in the Hat, the cat in the story, is inspired by a black woman named Annie Williams, who often wore white gloves. The cat's actions in this story, his movements, and the way he acted were all inspired by minstrelsy. And if you don't know what minstrelsy is, I mentioned it back in my channel, back when I did my Fine Brothers video, back when I did my Shane Dawson video, but those were a while ago, so I will tell you guys what minstrelsy is again. Minstrelsy, also known as minstrel shows, are shows where white people dress up in blackface and made fun of black people, okay? Minstrel shows were just made to belittle black people all the time. When people try to say things like only the South of America, like, you know how we have the North and the South. The North didn't have slavery. It was illegal up there. In the South, it was legal down there. Up in the North, minstrel shows was going on, okay? They was no better than the South, okay? They was just a little bit more hidden up there about their racism. They weren't down here hurting black people. They still were hurting them. They were just hurting them in different kinds of ways, okay? The North was no better than the South during that time of America, okay? And one thing that get on my nerves is that y'all gonna stop trying to downplay racism, okay? Y'all gonna stop trying to downplay it, especially when it took place back then, because it is a lot worse than what we are told, okay? I can't even imagine what my ancestors went through. Can't even imagine it. Now, as we know, the cat is a hot mess. The cat comes in and destroys the home and causes a lot of chaos. He's a really, really bad influence on the children. The goldfish is constantly just telling them, dang, why is this cat in the house? He need to get out, yada, yada, yada. And he also torments the cat because, not the cat, the fish, because of all of this information. But anyway, I'm a firm believer in how you portray people of color in your work is how you see them as people in real life. I've mentioned before that he has had numerous art pieces that are very, very racist towards black people, specifically African Americans, because, you know, Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss lived in America. So knowing that he made an entire story, if not his most popular story, when you look at book sales, is about making fun of a black person, really don't sit good with me. It's absolutely disgusting, okay? It is absolutely freaking nasty. I can't stand it. I really cannot stand it. And I will forever be ruined by the way I view the Cat in the Hat now. And as this stuff has come to the surface in the past, the Dr. Seuss collection posted a statement about Dr. Seuss's racist work in the past. And they made this statement down below. I will have the entire article linked down below for those of you who would like to read it for yourself. Here I am taking their words strictly from them. Dr. Seuss's later works show an evolution of value and beliefs. Those who knew him believed that if he were alive today, he would have jumped at the chance to be a part of the country's evolving dialogue about diversity and inclusion. Oof. Okay, now that we've gotten all that information brought to light, I'm going to give my closing thoughts on how I feel about this entire fiasco altogether, because this was a lot to take in, and like I said, I'm hurt I'm really, really hurt. I'm hurt, but I'm not surprised. I'm hurt because, like I said, another piece of my childhood has just kind of been shaken a little bit. I'm not going to say my childhood is ruined because I'm like, no, the way y'all use childhood ruined, it really should not be used in that kind of way. There are numerous other issues going on in here, and having your favorite piece of media ruined for you, it's different, but I'm not going to get into that. Like I mentioned before on this channel, the people who run children's media are very questionable, okay? They're really very questionable, but I do have a lot to consider right here because of the time being of when all of this stuff was made and the state of America at the time. And no, I don't want none of y'all assuming that I'm making up excuses for what Dr. Seuss did, because no, he was extremely wrong and it was extremely unacceptable. But being openly racist was a big thing in the past here in America, and just in the world in general. I'm not going to just say here in America, but I'm an American girl. I'm an African American girl. That's all I know. And a lot of times, if you weren't getting with the if you weren't sticking to the status quo of how people treated other people during this time period, you were looked at differently. Like, it's weird. It's really, really strange, okay? And what I find interesting about many of Dr. Seuss's works is that a lot of Dr. Seuss's works, this is just something that I find very interesting, like later on, once he stopped doing the political racist cartoons and anti-Semitism and all that stuff, is that a lot of his work is about diversity and inclusion and being accepting of other people who are different than you. As I mentioned earlier about his racist and anti-Semitic drawings, he later did like a whole 180 and stopped doing them. He began to do the complete opposite of what were in those works. And look, I'm not sitting here and telling you that you or your kids or your little brothers and sisters or siblings don't have to like Dr. Seuss anymore. You don't have to like his works anymore specifically, or not to read his books. But we cannot keep pretending that this didn't happen. We can't pretend that this wasn't real, okay? Part of the reason why so many issues related to racism regarding media and everything like that, like what I talk about on my channel, is because they aren't talked about. The reason why so much of this stuff gets swept under the rug and whatever is because people pretend to ignore that it didn't happen. Like, yes, Dr. Seuss has amazing books, but yes, he was also racist, at least at a certain point in his life. We can't ignore that part of him. We're going to continue to talk about famous figures that contributed a lot to history and art. We can't ignore certain things about them, okay? We have to also talk about them. If we're gonna talk about all the good that Dr. Seuss did, we gotta talk about the messed up things that he did too. You can't keep lying about these things, okay? And I'm not saying that you guys are lying, but acting like it didn't happen and not bringing it up is just as bad as lying, okay? Because you're ignoring it. I'm going ahead and say it. I have said and done some really messed up things, okay? And I will own up to them. I have owned up to some stuff in the past that I have done is really, really bad. But me pretending that it didn't happen is wrong. It's extremely wrong, okay? And I'm not going to sit here like I didn't do that thing. Be like, yes, I did that. Yes, I deserve to get dragged for that. And whatever. Just move on with it. The thing about it is that change. You have to change, okay? People can change. And I firmly do believe that Dr. Seuss did change as a person where he, well, you know, being racist. Because I still look at him a little funny because of the whole tire cheating thing. I do believe that he did realize he was wrong for what he done. And he did change as a person. But y'all gotta stop acting like this man didn't make this stuff, okay? Y'all trying to shield your children from this. You're trying to shield yourself from this, and you don't want to believe the truth. This is the truth. It happened. It's out there. It's very, very public, okay? And you have to accept it. You have to accept it for what it is. If you gonna have your kids talk about Dr. Seuss, especially, you know what? I got a quick little story I'm gonna give y'all. I remember in elementary school, even in middle school sometimes, we would have Dr. Seuss Day, which was on March 2nd. We'd always celebrate Dr. Seuss, celebrating his books and his life and things like this. Y'all need to start talking about this on Dr. Seuss Day. Okay? Y'all gotta start talking about it. Stop ignoring it, okay? Kids are never too young to learn about racism. They're not. And you as an adult are not too young to learn about racism either. Because at this point, if you're avoiding stuff because you don't want it to ruin your childhood or whatever, you're a part of the problem. You are a part of the problem. Do your part, sit down, do the research, and learn from your mistakes. Y'all gotta start teaching this part of Dr. Seuss Day, okay? On Instagram, I'm gonna go live on my Dr. Seuss Day. I'm like, happy Dr. Seuss Day. Here's some things you need to know about this man. I'm gonna do it. I don't care. Because y'all gotta stop pretending that stuff like this don't happen, okay? That's why so much of the stuff that happens with kids media gets so much swept under the rug, because people just like to act like everything is like rainbows and ponies. It's not, baby. It's not. It's not. But that concludes the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see more of me, go follow me on everything at Harriyanna on Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Wattpad, all that good stuff. I'm literally on everything at the moment. I even have a Twitch, but I don't use that. I love you guys so freaking much. Make sure you guys are go supporting harriyannahook, my shop that is launching super soon. I am super duper nervous, but I am super duper excited. I wanted to leave this video off on a better note because I'm mad. But you know what? It's okay. Things happen. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yes, have a good day. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt. And Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA. The Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay.